What's up? What's up? It's Juwan Buford Broadcasting, Troy Metropolitan Area. And what I want to talk about today is a conversation I had with one of our partners recently about some of the challenges she was having in her business with impatience and also dealing with the people who are around her. And what I shared with her is a story about an interaction I had with a person whom I counted as a friend years ago. This must have been like 10 years ago. Maybe as much as, I don't know, maybe even 13 or even 14 years ago. And I remember I was sitting down speaking with the individual about the plans that I had, how I wanted to build this massive business development organization, how I wanted to utilize certain relationships I had with companies around me to achieve this vision, this goal, right? And talking about how I wanted to create a situation where the organization was so big, that it was so massive, not just in terms of the number of people, but the people having success, that we would literally stimulate the economy, right? Anyone who's worked with me knows that has been a goal of mine. And the reason why that's important to me is because, once again, I believe entrepreneurship is empowerment. I believe that the most effective way to help people live more fulfilled lives of satisfaction, is to give them the means and the tools to grow successful businesses so they can take control of what happens at their kitchen table. Because let's face it, once again, it's tough to make smart decisions in terms of your family when your stomach is touching your back financially. You don't know where your next dollar is coming from, either because your business isn't generating revenues on a consistent basis, or because you don't know when our job is going to be there 2 years, 2 months, 20 years from now, right? It's tough to make those type of decisions. And it's just hard to live your best life when you are living a life that is dominated by scarcity, right? And of course, we know it's the small business owners that ultimately determine your quality of life. You go to any community in the United States, with rare exception, and the communities that have thriving small businesses are the communities that are healthy, right? Because they're the primary employers. And when you're the employer, you determine whether or not the grass gets cut. You determine whether or not trash gets picked up. You determine whether or not there's a school, a rec center, or a liquor store at the end of your block, right? And so I wanted to build this. I had this vision, because if I could create 100,000 successful entrepreneurs, whether they be in my block, my city, my county, region, state, whatever the case may be, I know that's one of the greatest contributions I can make to make the community healthier and just to create more camaraderie. I just believe a rising tide lifts all ships. So that was my vision, right? And I remember the person looked me in the face and said, look, who are you to do that? Why do you believe you're the one to do that? Why should people follow you? Now, never mind, I already had this track record of building organizations. Never mind, I already had this track record of mobilizing people. Never mind, I've already experienced what it's like to have a $30,000. I know what a dollar a month feels like too, but I know what it's like to have a $30,000 month as an entrepreneur. So never mind, I had this track record. None of that stuff mattered, right? And what I'd share with our partner was simply this: what you have to understand about the people around you is that people around you, your family, your friends, your network, they may not necessarily want to see you broke on the curb and on the street starving. Now, you got some haters in your network too. People are always surprised by the fact that, look, if you're moving forward in life, if you're progressing, dogs don't bark at parked cars. You're going to have some haters, right? But for the most part, your family, your friends, people around don't want to see you broke and on your knuckles, right? Starving. But you know what? They also don't want to see you leveling up faster and more effectively than them. And you have to understand that you should not take it personally. Don't take it personal. It's just human nature, right? Sapiens. I think that's the title of one of the books behind me, right? It's our human nature. And so, because of that, if people aren't necessarily supporting your business, if they're not willing to patronize you, if they're not willing to pay for your product and service, if they're not willing to pay for your value prop, don't get upset with them. Because most people are, whether they know you or not, no one woke up today, with rare exception, and says, you know what? How can I make this person's life better? No, they're waking up thinking about WIIFM. What's in it for me? They're thinking about taking care of their families, meeting their needs, meeting their comforts, being comfortable, right? And so it's like almost a sense of entitlement to believe that people are waking up to make you wealthy, to make you rich. That's not how human beings work. And what I shared was this: while the people around you may not be willing to support you right now, right? Because you haven't had time to cook yet. And I'm going to get into this in a moment. They may not be willing to patronize you right now. But you know what? You can still acquire referrals. And that's why I'm a huge proponent of learning R3, right? When you're working with people, particularly those of us who are in the quote unquote B2B space, business to business space, right? Here's the thing. The people around you may not be willing to patronize you directly, but that doesn't mean they don't see value in what you're doing, right? But that human nature kicks in and they're like, you know what I mean when I'm going with this, right? That's that feeling you get when you're talking to family, friends, people in your network, and they're not gung-ho about what you're doing. They're not willing to part the hard-earned currency in their back pocket. But here's the thing. When people see value in what it is that you do, if they truly see value in it, while they may not be willing to buy, once again, they are willing to refer. And we know there are 3 types of referrals we ask for. We ask for referrals in terms of who do you know that you want to help, right? And you got to be able to name your avatar. Depending on the market you're taking aim at, you may be asking, who do you know who has children, needs to get their estate plan done, right? Using some examples. Who do you know who's been a victim of identity theft? Everybody. Everyone I know has either been a victim of identity theft or knows someone else who has. Everyone's been touched by it. Who do you know who wants to just make better financial decisions? Who wants to go further, go harder, set better appointments for their family? Who do you know who's serious about being heads of households and moving their family forward, changing their lineage? Who do you know who's buying houses, buying cars, buying real estate, whether to live in or investment purposes? Who do you know who may be in the sandwich generation? And not only they're taking care of the kids, but they're taking care of their parents. Who do you know that's a parent or a grandparent that cares about the welfare of their grandchildren? Like, who do you know? You have to ask. You can't just say, well, who do you know who will buy this? Or can you give me some who? No. Who do you know that you want to help, right? Who do you know that if your car was like stalled out on 7 Mile and Van Dyke or Mack and Van Dyke at 2 a.m. in the morning and it's raining, sleeting, and snowing and AAA ain't picking up? Who would you call on first to come pick you up, right? Who do you know that's a business owner? Who do you know who's looking to grow their business? And look, when you think about business owners, it doesn't necessarily have to be a business owner with 50 employees. Investment advisors, insurance agents, car insurance agents, realtors, attorneys, tax and accounting professionals, right? I ask for who do you know in terms of thinking, who are the people that I want to get introduced to who will already have an audience with the clients I want to engage with, right? Or just who do you know that is a business owner that owns a collision shop, that owns, a hair salon or a barber shop, or that owns a restaurant? Who do you know that manages a car dealership? You know, ask for businesses that you want to deal with as well. But, still be open to other business. Like, who do you know that owns a business, right? You got to be a little bit more specific when you're asking for what it is you desire. And then last but not least, because look, if you are not attracting talent and you're building a business and you're not intentional about it, you're going to lose. Look, as entrepreneurs, that is the goal, right? To bring value to our clients and to structure everything, our culture, our modus operandi around that, and making sure our clients are happy, but also finding people who want to do that kind of work too. So who do you know that's looking? Most people are looking to earn extra $1,500. Look at the cost of eggs and bread. Who do you know is a go-getter? Who do you know is entrepreneurial? Who do you know who can't sit still? Who do you know who started up multiple businesses? Who do you know that is always talking about financial independence and literacy and business development and sales management, and who's always just can't sit still, social butterflies? Who do you know? And once again, that can be a lot of the same people, right? I may ask, who do you know is an accountant? Who do you know is an insurance agent? Who do you know is a realtor? Who do you know is an attorney? Who do you know that does SaaS sales? Who do you know that who does sales in any industry, right? Ask for what you want, right? Who do you know? And that's what I shared with her. I said, look, we met with a business owner that you knew recently. And he saw value in what it is that we do. And he said, give me a couple weeks to get my affairs together. Fine. But but while I was conversing with him, I said, look, it's obvious to me you see value in what it is we're doing here. He says, yeah. I said, well, if you don't mind, who do you know? And those are the questions I asked. And as a result, we acquired 3 referrals. And I said to her afterward, I said, this is what you're doing. In your first, I would say easily year, maybe 2 years in business, you got to cook. And you got to cook in a sense that you have to cook up a new network. You got to cook up a new group of individuals around you. You got to attract and cook up a brand where people know you for what it is that you do. People trust, respect you. They like, know, trust, and respect you. You got to cook within your network, and you have to build out your network, right? Walmart or Dairy Queen, whichever one, doesn't earn tens of thousands of dollars on a monthly basis or hundreds of thousands of dollars on a daily basis, predicated upon whether or not 5 or 10 people are willing to buy their services or products. They rely on a large network of individuals, right, who are driving by that desire what it is that they have, right? And you have to think about your business as an entrepreneur the same way. You got to build that network of individuals. You got to build that network of drive-bys, right? When people, thousands of cars, if not tens of thousands of cars, are going to drive by the Starbucks around the corner from me today. Starbucks is not concerned with the people who drove by Starbucks. They're concerned about the people who look at Starbucks, say, I want a $10 cup of coffee, walk in there, they're going to give them great customer service, and they're going to continue doing that, right? You have to think about your business in much the same way. You need to be building your network, right? Now, I do have a training, I'm not going to go into it now, where I utilize this approach in a 3-month period of time, maybe 4-month period of time, 3-month period of time, while I was able to amass 3,000 referrals. And that business launch over almost 2 decades ago is still serving me today. That initial launch where I went out to the marketplace and I wasn't necessarily looking to sell. I was just looking to build my network and get as many people, have as many people as possible, just be aware of what I do, because I knew my intentions were good. I knew my value prop was good. I knew some of those individuals would take an interest in what I'm doing. And that's what I share with her. Give yourself time to cook. Stop being upset and angry and annoyed and going through all these conniptions because your family, your friends aren't patronizing you right now. You got to build outside that network, right? That's the first thing I said in terms of giving yourself time to cook. Here's the other thing that I share with our partner. I said, look, you're still new to this game called entrepreneurship. And whether you're doing it 5 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 80 hours a week, it doesn't matter. You still have to give yourself time to cook as well as an entrepreneur. You got to be a little bit easy with yourself. Yeah, we know there are stories that we hear when people first start any type of entrepreneur endeavor. We hear the stories, right? 3 months became multimillionaire. Those are anomalies. Those are lightning in a bottle, okay? It's like shaking a tree to make dewdrops fall. I remember there was a poem that I was infatuated with. It was actually like a 1 or 2 paragraph poem I was infatuated back in college, and I expanded it, right? And I said, to love someone who doesn't love you is like shaking a tree to make dewdrops fall, right? And what you'll end up having is callous hands and a broken heart, because you don't just wake up and shake a tree and dewdrops fall. Conditions have to be right, right? It has to be dew in the air. It has to be humid in the air. It has to be the type of tree that collects the dewdrops. It has to be a tree that you're capable of shaking, right? And being an entrepreneur is akin to that sometimes, right? You love your business and you want to see it grow, but conditions have to be right. You can't just shake that entrepreneurial tree and expect fruit or dewdrops to fall, right? The baby's not going to produce right away. You got to feed it. Or to use a metaphor that I shared with our partner, because she knows how to cook. I said, look, you don't make a phenomenal pot of spaghetti in 5 minutes. It's impossible. You know you got to give those ingredients time to cook in order for someone to have a phenomenal experience eating your spaghetti, right? And so what are the ingredients? Number 1, mentorship. It's the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make in our organization as well. Look, you have to humble yourself, be coachable, and connect with people who are further ahead than you. Because when someone's further ahead than you, they've already been where you're at. And so they can expedite your learning curve because they can see the challenges and problems you're going through because they've been through it. You want those eyeballs taking aim at your business. You want those eyeballs taking aim at what it is you're doing so they can help you out. And when you go to mentors, number one, you got to be coachable because their time is valuable. You have to be willing to listen and learn and take notes. Man, it drives me insane when I'm giving a talk to someone or even someone's and I don't see anyone taking notes. I know you're going to forget 70, 80% of everything that I'm sharing. You got to come back to that mentor every now and again and let them know this is the progress that I made. So they know that they drop gems, not on swine, but someone who actually appreciates it and going to make progress, right? Because even in mentorship, mentoring people can grow you too. That's another conversation for another time. That's why people who mentor do that, right? So you got to find mentorship. You got to find individuals. Find a way to give back to them, please. And our business is not that hard. Just be productive. You're productive, your mentors will love you. But we also know we are organization altruistic too. And sometimes someone doesn't have to be in your organization or even be in the line of business you're in. Make sure they understand your business. Line of business you're in, and they can give you insight and guidance in terms of how to grow. What it is you're doing. Okay, so seek out mentorship. People are doing the things that you do. That's so absolutely important. And you got to give that mentorship time to cook. They say the teacher will arrive when the student is ready. You may not be ready for all the information you receive. I'm rereading Success Principles by Jack Canfield. This book launched me. It literally launched my business. I shouldn't be talking about it because he ain't paying me. I got to contact him and be like, hey, bro, I'll be promoting your book. But anyway, that book launched me. You know what? It's relaunching me again. It's relaunching me again. A lot of the lessons that I read from that book over a decade ago, it didn't land because I didn't understand it. I wasn't there. But today, now that I'm rereading, I'm like, oh, wow, that's very applicable. I remember reading that. I remember taking notes in my notebook about that, right? You got to give yourself time to cook and mentorship. Once you've received the mentorship, you have to execute. You have to execute. You got to go out there and do the work, right? It's in doing the work that you get better. Like children don't fall out the womb running and sprinting. They bump their heads. They bump their knees. They bruise their elbows. They cry and whimper a little bit. But eventually they grab something to stabilize themselves and they start learning how to walk. And then they start learning how to run. It's a process. But you don't learn how to run, how to walk, how to do too much of anything without doing the work. Some of us, the success we're looking for is found in the work that we're avoiding. So you got to go out there and make the invitations, do the exposures, give the presentations, ask for the referrals. And you got to be willing to mess it up. That's part of cooking. Some of us, we want the success, but we don't want to, once again, we don't want to grab that spoon and stir the pot. You got to stir the pot or you're not going to have a good pot of spaghetti, right? There's another ingredient there. Yeah, learning is important, but you learn, you evaluate, you do it again, you learn, you evaluate, you get guidance, you get mentorship to evaluate, and then at some point you'll be in a position where you can share, where because you've done the thing, now you have value to give to others. Because a lot of people in their entrepreneurial journey, you want to start teaching. You want to start telling everybody everything that you do. And look, your network, even the network you grow, they're watching you to see whether or not you're making progress, whether or not you're leveling up, whether or not you are a product of the product, the thing that you are selling or promoting or sharing with people. Right, but this is what the process looks like. Right? So we're fortunate within our organization that we have mentorship. We have people who are earning 6 and 7 figures plus, who are altruistic and willing to give their time. You need to reach out to those people more frequently. In our organization, we're very fortunate since we have a proven business model, right? We don't have to question whether or not people are acquiring our product or service. The reason why the company is $1 billion company, okay? People are acquiring the product and service. You ain't got to worry about that, okay? We have the training. You have individuals like myself who have had some success who are willing to show up and share what we know, right? So you have training, you have videos, you have audios, you have Zoom calls, you have live events, you have live events, you have live events. I know people have fallen in love with Zoom, but There's just something different about being at a concert and feeling the vibration as opposed to trying to experience it over a device, right? Experience is different. So you have all these tools available to you. And that's what I shared. Lean on leadership, lean on mentorship. Do the thing. Give yourself time to cook. Mess it up, you know? And because you have mentorship, you have guidance, we're not going to let you mess up too bad. Now, you know, we'll let you bump your head a little bit, but we're willing to let you learn and give you that course correction, right? Read the books. You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. And what you are the things that you consume, right? Develop an appetite for learning. Once again, allow that to cook, right? And you'll look up and you'll find yourself in a situation where you're having increasing success because you're building those knowledge stacks, you're building those talent stacks, you're building those skill stacks, you're developing wisdom and know-how as well. And ideally, once again, I'm gonna keep going back to this, you're leaning on mentorship. So even that process is being expedited, and before you know it, now not only you are effective solopreneur, entrepreneur, but you're also an effective builder, which means you're well on your way to building a successful business. So stop getting upset, once again, with people who aren't supporting you. Don't expect it. If they do, it's a blessing. If people wake up and decide they want to purchase or do business with you, don't be entitled. Be appreciative, right? Have gratitude for the first client, right? Second client, third client. Be appreciative for those things. And then allow yourself to cook in all areas, right? As you build your network, once again, as you get the mentorship, develop the skills, from doing the thing and evaluating, right? And taking the training. And you'll look up and you'll be where you want to be. And it may take you 2 months, depending on how much time you're pouring into it. It may take you 2 years. It may take you 5 years, but the juice is worth the squeeze. Goodbye for now. Celebrate success in advance.